Hello and welcome to Penn Voice. My name is Leslie Arroyo, and today I'm filling in for Danny Gasparini. And with me today is Captain Dave Norris with the San Mateo Police Department. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So there are 17 police departments in San Mateo County. What makes San Mateo PD so different?
So a couple things that make San Mateo a little bit different than the rest of the jurisdictions in the county. So we're one of the larger ones. There are about 4 or 5 that are kind of larger police departments on the peninsula. So we have to play kind of big brother, big sister sometimes in our position within the county. So we tend to be very leadership oriented. We're a very proactive police department. We look to engage with the community, partner with the community, and really the crime fighting part of that, which we do very well, is very intertwined with our community. Community engagement and a really supportive family environment within the department are really 2 of our big hallmarks.
Well, and that's actually I was going to ask you about community engagement and what are some of the things that you do to engage the community and how do you get them involved?
So we have a number of different ways that we get involved with our community, and one of those ways is through a very robust media and community relations program where we are communicating with our community across multiple social media platforms, including some nextdoor.com, which is a very popular now residential communication program. What we found is that we can be very precise with our messaging to 50% of the households in the city of San Mateo, and so that we can get messages out that are very accurate to the right people and provide the right important information to our community. So we do things that way, and then we're also very fluid and transparent with the information about what's happening now. So one of the things that makes San Mateo Police Department unique is anytime that there's something that's happening in our city that grabs the attention of our community, immediately our media relations team and the supervisory and leadership team that's on the ground, on the street, actually involved in the event, start to formulate our messaging out to our community to make sure that our community feels informed, that they don't start to guess and create their own narrative. What we are doing in terms of public safety work, it's really important that we're very direct about that.
You know, one thing I think with people, a lot of times it can be intimidating being around police officers. And so having that engagement, I think, goes a long way, especially starting at a younger age.
So a couple things that we do that I think are really important is we know that even though we're in an electronic age, and even though there are a lot of people on the peninsula that are very comfortable with using electronic media, we know that in-person connection and communication is very important. So events like Coffee with a Cop, where we can sit down and talk with our residents, community meetings of all different types, including neighborhood watch meetings. We have a very robust neighborhood watch program with over 300 neighborhood watch blocks citywide. We have an annual program that we do with National Night Out, which, as you know, is a nationwide law enforcement engagement program. But the first Tuesday in August, the city of San Mateo has over 50 block parties citywide that we commit to getting to as many as we can and making sure that we're in contact with our community. And we also focus on the communities that we know don't have a robust neighborhood watch program, and we make sure that we do some larger events and we bring the community that is around that area to those events, like the one that we do at the Martin Luther King Center every year.
How receptive has the community been to you guys?
We have an incredibly supportive community. It's difficult for me to even describe how supportive this community has been. We have been through some great times. We've had great information that we've put out, and we've had some difficult things. You're a city of a population of this size, you get both. But we know that when we have difficult information that we have to put out to our public, that our public has been incredibly supportive because we've been forthright with the information that we're providing.
Mm-hmm. That's really important. So when thinking of local police, you know, most people envision the officers in uniform, but there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes and a lot of people that make this happen. Let's talk about those people.
Right. So when people think about the police, they think about the officers in uniform, the black and white cars, the motorcycles, those things that are directly in touch with our public out on the street that everybody sees. But there's so much more than that. So our field operations division, which does an incredible job of keeping crime levels low, of being proactive about making contact with people who could be committing crimes in our city and getting those folks off the street, and making our community feel safe. They do a phenomenal job, and their effectiveness can't be understated. But in order to put those folks out there and have them do that job, that 80% of our uniformed police force, there are 40 to 70 employees, both sworn and civilian, who help to support that and make that happen. And we're talking about the dispatchers who take the calls, the records personnel who process the reports, the behind-the-scenes teams that recruit, hire, and train our personnel, the investigations division that does the complex cases. There are a lot of different things that go into that.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of recruiting, how is it difficult to recruit, especially here in the Bay Area, with the cost of living and things like that? Cost
of living is a big factor. There are a number of things that are big factors. The different profile that police have now across the national narrative is also a big factor for us. We have to retune what we're thinking about when we look at people who want to get into the police profession. What we do know is that there's a whole generation of people who really do want to be helpful in their communities, and I think that has to be our influence as we recruit. It used to be that the influence was a little bit more of an aggressive type of, looking for people who kind of had that warrior level mentality. And you talk in law enforcement a lot about warrior versus guardian. The warrior being the kind of aggressive crime fighting that is sometimes needed to combat really heavy duty crime. And then you talk about the guardians, who are the folks that have that care and concern for the community, the people who are focused on protecting the most vulnerable people in society, the ones who cannot speak out and protect themselves. Mm-hmm. And that facet of police work really, to me, is what is our area of focus now, because that matches up very nicely with kind of socially aware and really, interested in helping the community candidates that we have that are looking for jobs in the police business.
So changes are probably going to come. What are some of the changes that you see on the horizon for law enforcement?
Well, there's a lot of change that's happening now, and there's a lot of change that is to come. Some of the things that are happening now is greatly increased transparency coming from law enforcement agencies, and I think that that's something that we have to ensure through good policies and good practices that we are already doing, so that when those law changes come and when those transparency practices are mandated of us, that's not a big shock to the system of local police departments. So transparency is a big issue. There are additional laws and concerns in terms of scrutiny on officers' use of force, scrutiny on officers that are performing very high liability actions in the society. We know those actions are high liability. We know that those take incredible decision-making skills. So being able to involve crisis intervention techniques, de-escalation techniques, things that will reduce the potential for an injurious situation in interaction with the public, those things are really important. In addition to that, good education and, again, good policy management with the folks who are actually acting on the street, so that they know where the boundaries are. Our police officers on the street that are making decisions know what that framework is to make good decisions.
And I could talk to you for forever here, but we just have a little bit more time. And my last question is just, what would you want people to know about, if there's a takeaway from your department? What's the one thing you want people to know?
I think the most important thing to know is that our job in protecting our community is to reduce the perception of fear, to make sure that people feel like they are safe, to make sure that they feel like we are a comfortable entity for them in the community to reach out to us and have that interaction, and that they feel like there aren't any deep secrets that are being held with the interaction between police and the public, that we are upfront about that because we have a professional job to do, and that we shouldn't have any qualms about sharing the interaction with the public about what kind of action we have to take on the street.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much for joining us. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it. And thank you for joining us today on Penn Voice. We'll see you next time. Hello and welcome to Penn Voice. My name is Leslie Arroyo, and today I'm filling in for Danny Gasparini. And with me today is Captain Dave Norris of the San Mateo Police Department. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. So, there seems to be a lot of changes in law enforcement, but also law enforcement recruitment in the last decade. How has this changed?
So one of the unique things that we have found is that just like the rest of our department profile has changed, and we need to push more information out and be really open across multiple platforms of conventional and social media. We find that we need to do the same thing with our recruiting. So what we've done at San Mateo PD, which is a little bit unique, is we have somewhat merged our media relations team with our recruiting team to create some really content-rich videos, recruitment videos about some of the things that we do internally within the department, some of the things we do externally in relationship with our community. We have done a thorough revamp of our website presence, and we continue to push information out about recruiting through all of our social media platforms. And what we've found is that recruits are telling us, and some of them have, communications degrees, and I've asked, how effective is it what we're doing? And we found a significant jump in the number of applications to our department over the last several months as we've done this kind of merge between the two units. And we also find that people like our communications educated recruit that I recently spoke with really feel like they're seeing the kind of interaction that makes them want to join this department. So we're really proud of that.
If you think of when you recruited for the police department versus how it has changed, would you have imagined how much it has changed and really has, gone to this? So the social media is such a big impact these days.
Right. It's a completely different way of doing business. There was really only print media and in-person advertisement, and you might be able to get the odd poster up somewhere as a recruiting poster back in the 90s when I was recruited into police work. And nowadays, really, you have to match the curiosity of the people who are coming into the business. And the generation of potential police officers who are coming into the business are very social media savvy. They're very media savvy. They go to Google when they want to know something versus asking someone who might be a trusted advisor on a majority of the occasions. And so we have to be able to fine tune ourselves to how people are looking for us so that we can best match that.
I suppose that could be kind of pro and con, though, if you think about it, because going to Google and getting your source from the internet sometimes may not always be accurate. And how do you kind of deal with that?
Well, I think you have to start with a very fact-based approach. Mm-hmm. You have to do a little bit of research and understand what it is that folks are looking for, making sure that you can validate all of those points, and then putting that into something that is really, visually attractive to that particular audience. And so it's important that we are very accurate with what we're putting out, but that it is also very attractive to that group of the community that wants to come and work for the police department.
Do you find yourself competing with other police departments for creativity in trying to, get recruits into your jurisdiction?
It's not just competing. So we find that there are other police departments that are doing something really creative and cool. We are sharing that information, not only within our department and our small group, but we're networked up with people who are involved in media relations and recruiting all over the country. The short distance now between people electronically has really helped that, and so we're constantly on the watch for something really interesting and unique that another agency is doing, and figuring out a way that we can put our own spin on it and make it interesting and unique for San Mateo Police Department.
When it comes to the impact on the community, how do you reach those folks as early as possible?
So one of the things that we have done that I think is incredibly effective is we have a youth services unit within our detective bureau, within our investigations division, that seeks to do as much of prevention and early intervention as possible. It's a unique partnership. We have 3 school resource officers who are funded as a partnership between the San Mateo Foster City School System, San Mateo Unified High School District, and the police department to provide service to the public middle schools as well as the high schools that they feed to in San Mateo. So we're having school resource officers who are interacting with folks that are going to be moving from one school to the other and providing a really broad education to all incoming public school sixth graders across the gang resistance education and training system. That is the great system is evidence-based, it's nationally known, and it is a strict 13-week curriculum that our officers teach. So our sixth grade classes in the public schools are getting a really good social defense skills lesson, anti-bullying, anti-drugs, understanding when it's important to talk to somebody about something that is getting at your vulnerabilities, and strengthening those youngsters. And then as they move in through the schools, we find that is really impactful to reducing discipline issues, reducing tendency towards crime. So there's that component of it with the school resource officers. The other component of it is a very rich diversion program that we operate in partnership with the San Mateo County Probation Office, where we have a probation officer who is assigned to San Mateo Police Department to help with case management on folks that are just starting out in a wrong direction, and we're finding ways to be able to divert them from the juvenile justice system, get them back on track, get them back in school. We also work in partnership with some counseling programs because we know that there's no one simple solution to this. It's usually a complex array of things that are impacting those youth. So getting them into that system, getting into those conversations with those youth, really driving deep into the heart of, what's putting them on that particular path really is helpful to divert them from the system. It's a highly successful program, and we're looking at replicating that in other locations throughout the county as well.
Have you seen, are there any case studies that you've seen with youth that you've seen at a younger age and now are adults?
We are starting to see that. So, we brought this program in several years ago. We're now starting to see those youth that we were teaching in those sixth grade classes getting up to and graduating high school and moving on to great things. And, in partnership with our Police Activities League, all of that is under one umbrella. So School Resource Officer Program, Diversion Program, Police Activities League, all working together. And one of the things that PAL does is it looks for folks who might need, say, scholarships or might need a little bit of help in getting past that threshold through high school and beyond. And so we're able to support some of those youth that are coming through our program to get them on that right track.
Do you see them eventually maybe joining a career in law enforcement?
We actually have several folks within our department who started out as PAL kids, whether that was, in the city of San Mateo or a city similar to San Mateo with a similar program, that have come through that program and then gone through, say, the Cadet Program, which we also offer a youth cadet program at San Mateo PD. And some of those folks have come through the Cadet Program and then have gone on to be really successful police officers in our organization.
I would imagine that, you seeing this, it's got to be really rewarding as an organization, but also as an individual seeing this.
One of the greatest things for us is to really see that multi-generational impact at work. And when we're able to make that connection with youth and get them kind of diverted from what might be a problematic path, and then see them later on, whether they're working for San Mateo Police Department or whether they're working out in public or whether they're working for another police agency, as long as they're successful, then we're successful.
Mm-hmm. Well, that sounds great, and I really appreciate you joining us today. I feel like we could, again, go on and on and on, but we'll cut it here, and thank you all for joining us today on Penn Voice. We'll see you next time.